Angry. Before we jump into the MER, maybe a few words on how you're feeling in general about the game right now. What are you thinking about? What's on your mind when you're thinking about EVE Online?
I mean, the game is what it is, but of course, the 500-pound gorilla in the room is that Equinox forced changeover is fast approaching, and Equinox is still not in a good state. So a lot will have to depend on how CCP proceeds in the next 2 months until the mandatory changeover. It can either be a clown show or it can be something actually good. That'll depend on uh, these next key months.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I have been spending a lot of time speaking to CCP about that. Let's hope it goes the right way. In Germany, we say hope dies last. we'll see what happens. Where do you think is the biggest the biggest challenge right now? Is it the mining sites or planetary resources? What's the biggest issue
I
right
think
now?
the biggest issue is that it's if you look at the cost it takes to run an upgrade, it's really, really high. So for example, in Equinox right now, so right now if you have a Sino beacon in nullsec, it's 150 million ISK per month you pay to Concord and they let you put up a Sino beacon. On Equinox right now, it is the equivalent of 24 billion magmatic gas. So if you have an Equinox system right now, you just cannot put any strategic upgrades in it. So that's one. Number two is things you used to get for free are you can't put in anymore. So right now, every system you can put in a mining upgrade, every system you can put in a ratting upgrade, and in the future you choose one or another. And right now, they're both worse than what you have in nullsec. So you have an issue where right now, if you can have like a 8 and a set, if you put them on a um 8 or a set, if you rate the current mining and routing upgrades as like 8, and you can have them both. In the future, well, in the Equinox, you can choose between like a 3 or 4, and you pick one.
Yeah. So it's not a reinvigoration, as you're saying, right? As was promised to us.
Not at all. Not with the
Not
current
a.
numbers.
All right, so let's jump into the MER. Fallen Hammer, Parser, Crota. Thank you all for keeping the hype train going. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. So first of all, just an administrative note. There were 5 types of ores added to the MER. We quickly talked about that. Angry. It doesn't. Those didn't
Yeah,
make a huge change because they were added. They were
they
ore
were
types that
added
were added
way
later. Yeah.
back. They were way added during the 8.0 sites, like almost a year back. But people never noticed them because a lot of them are just awful. I think the only one that actually makes a difference is I think yttrium is the isogen one in the 8.0 sites,
Yeah.
and the
I think
rest
so.
people just don't bother mining, really.
Yeah, Yttrium is the one that has oxygen. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so let's run through some graphs, and whenever you want me to pull up your custom graphs, Angry, you just let me know, right? As always, Angry has brought some custom graphs, and I can pull them up as we go, right? We can start with production. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
been going
down, but
down.
I think
Yeah.
it's going down not because of like anything CCP did, but because just of an activity slump. If you look at EVE offline, TCU is down, DAU is down, so naturally, destruction, mining, and production would all be down because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was August. Like, we can't forget that, right? We always see a summer slump there. So that, if we compare production to last year. Obviously, it's up by quite a bit. Mining and destruction, though, also slumping a little bit, despite having added those 5 asteroid ore types back in. Last month we saw a big shift between the space security types, but this week or this month we don't see that at all. It pretty much is all staying as it was, so nothing big to report here. In terms of asteroid ore mine, this is by volume. So this increased a little bit, but not significantly. Ideally, we would want to see this increase quite significantly in null after Equinox, and we're not seeing that at all.
It's just too hard to install a mining upgrade. So all the mining going on is still with legacy systems.
Yeah, as we talked in the intro, and then gas obviously has been way down since Equinox, since it was taken off of so many faction blueprints, and so there's just no demand there anymore, and so it makes sense that gas volume is down, although that only represents half of or maximum half of this, but still, yeah. Ice is pretty much unchanged, and yeah, the biggest destruction in Pochven, though, Angry. I think last wasn't it last time that we looked at a graph, destruction versus ISK faucets for Pochven?
I think I gave you one this month.
All right, let's have a look.
Pochven is first destroyed.
Pochven ISK versus destroyed. It's one of the last ones you sent?
Yeah, it's 2 blue lines.
Yeah, there we go. Whoa. Give me a second. We're going to pull this into there. Copy that link. And there's your graph. Pochven ISK versus destroyed.
So Pochven people always, brag about how much gets destroyed in Pochven, but I mean, you can also see the ratio of ISK printing. This is just pure ISK being printed versus destruction, and I think it is the highest out of the big spaces in the game. So if you just look, every day they print about 700 billion, and every day they destroy about 100 billion. So the ratio of 7-to-1 is pretty stable. It's been climbing up a bit since the platform people have gotten better about optimizing how they crab and optimizing how not to lose ships. And yeah, that's about twice as much as wormholes and nullsec. So we've told CCP about it. They've generally chosen to do nothing. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think there are other priorities right now. They certainly attacked blue loot first, or blue loot at all, right? So we're going to see that later in the graph. So the amount of blue loot entering the game is a lot less than it used to
And
be.
I think
But
there's also a bit of a substitution effect because people are always drawn to like the best
yeah, that's
PvE, right? So
absolutely that's what I was going to get to. People have shifted.
People have shifted, so you might even see an acceleration in Pochven with people who used to do blue loot moving into Pochven instead.
Yeah, I don't think you can say in general, wormhole people, Pochven people, typically there is the type of player that's going to min-max, and if there's a top money maker and top ISK per hour activity out there that they can do with the resources they have, they're going to go do that, whether it's Pochven or whether it's wormholes, right?
Yep.
You're probably in there, Angry, right?
I was, but I recently I have I can't sit for 2 hours in a fleet crabbing anymore, so
Right.
I've
Okay.
stopped.
Mining Veil of the Silent and then Fountain. Right? So I don't know how that compares to last month, but
About the same.
certainly no surprise there. Total production up in Delft. Congratulations.
Although the
And
alliance is deployed, PvE isn't actually down that much, which is the interesting part for me. If you go back to um, regional
to which one?
ratings, that Delve actually didn't fall that much. I mean, it's lower, but it's not that much lower.
Bounties, yeah. Veil of the Silent 1, Peregrine Falls 2, Delft 3 on NPC bounties for writing. Let's talk about ISK sinks and faucets. And two things here. One, we saw the first full month of half sales tax, right? And if you look at, let me actually look at this graph back here with the ISK sinks and faucets. So we can see, before halving of the tax, we were seeing transaction tax sinks of over $1 trillion every single day, and now that's almost half. So overall, I would guess that the over a month we're losing about 15 trillion of an ISK sink, right? Angry?
Yeah. You want to bring up my red and blue sinks faucet
Yeah.
balance graph?
Yeah, I'll bring that up. Here you go.
So last month I made this graph and it was kind of hacked together. So this month I improved it to show that faucets are blue and sinks are red. And what I've basically done is taken that CCP line graph and stacked it to show the rough magnitude comparison of all sinks and all faucets to show the ISK faucet balance. And what you see is after the tax cut in middle of July,
Yeah.
uh, total sinks have fallen by a lot. So because it's below because that part is below zero, the bar shortening is showing less money is being sunk.
Yeah. Yeah, and if this was the last full month of tax, the 49 trillion of transaction fees, right? Compared to 29. So compared to June, it was 20 trillion less. That's massive.
Yeah. And that ISK has to be balanced somewhere. And right now they have not implemented any substitutes. So for the past past month is just an unbalanced ISK sync at the moment. I think they will have to revert that change sometime.
If we look at the wormhole blue loot graph here,
Actually, let's go back.
this
Yeah, okay.
this has this I mean this has come down very significantly, right? So from in the high time 20 to 21 trillion out of C5 to C6 wormholes down to now about 12, right? So at least there
But it's
we're
also
recovering a little bit.
stabilized. Actually, it's not 12. Do you want to show the graph I made just above it? The wormhole blue loot one,
Sure.
along with
It's
the one
12
above
from
that.
C5 and C6 wormholes. That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Here you go. There it is.
So you see that wormhole sort of stabilized around 15 trillion with, yeah, around 13 coming, 12 to 13 coming from C5 and C6. C6 has stabilized, C5 has stabilized, and there's a slight drop in the amount of stuff dying in wormholes, but that seems to be within monthly variance. We'll see going on if more people leave wormholes. That'll if that happens, that wormhole kill value graph will start dropping. If not, then we'll just know that wormholes have sort of adopted to their new paradigm.
Yeah, so if they don't, Or if they stabilize here, we know that we're going to need at least one more ISK sync to balance out the tax cut, or the tax cut is going to be a temporary thing, it's going to go away, right?
I think every time they've done the tax cut before, it's been temporary. It's just never lasted this long.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It also wasn't communicated publicly on why CCP did it, right? I mean, there's the
No,
patch
I
notes
don't
just
think.
said surprise tax is cut in half,
Yeah,
but there was no reasoning behind it, or an indication of what would balance it.
no, they didn't tell us.
But yeah, let's go back. We skipped a whole bunch of interesting stuff. So I want to quickly move over here to the Power BI graphs, just like we did last month, because you know, we this right here in July, we were angry. You and I were speculating this is bot bans rather than the impact of an expansion, because the expansion you would see a lot later, since inactive ISK goes inactive after 90 days. So you know, this would be a lot earlier. And so what we have found out in the meantime is that the definition of the GM actions that are in the ISK delta, so any bot bans or any other type of bans, those are also 3-month delayed. I always assumed they were going to be immediate, but they're
Me
also 3
too.
months.
I thought they were instant, but they are also 3 months delayed. So right now we're back to we don't know what caused the July dip.
Yeah. So, but if our assumption was correct, that it was bot bans, if that was the case, then that would have been something that happened back in the spring and not now, which helps me understand these graphs a lot better than before. I don't know why CCP never clarified that, but yeah.
Maybe they just never felt the need to.
No, I know, but it's funny, right? Because if you have bot bans, you would think, well, that's as permanent. Hopefully, that's as permanent as you can be, and so you wouldn't have to wait 3 months. The only reason you wait 3 months on the inactive players is because you're hoping they might come back, right? But yeah, so last month we had the big. Basically, they were able to cover this the tax cut easily by the active ISK delta. You would just think that in the long run they're not going to be able to keep on balancing this out with the active ISK delta, so they'll need another sync. Faucets overall, you know, slightly lower, and then sinks a lot lower, as we just talked about anyway. Anything else you want to talk about in faucets and sinks?
Yeah. They still haven't fixed Homefront.
Right. Correct. That's
It is what it
a
is.
massive faucet. Correct. I think it falls also in the category of other different priorities right now with Equinox out. You know, we see here sleeper components. This is blue loot coming down. What surprised me a little bit is Triglavian data down quite significantly, right? And this is a bit counterintuitive, because last
I
month.
don't think it is, because Triglavian data. Wait. Oh no. That's you're right. You're right.
That's red loot. Red loot.
That's red loot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's blue for whatever reason. They chose the color blue for the red loot, but the loot was worth a lot. The last month we saw a huge rally on the abyssal materials, and so you would have thought, hey, it's profitable, so more people run it, but that doesn't seem to be the case, because Triglavian data is a very good indicator of how many people are actually out there running the sites and selling the loot back to the NPC buy orders. But yeah.
But what does make sense to me is rogue drone analysis data dropping, because Imperium at least isn't running crab sites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at least that is down. Yeah. but here you do see the significant drop right here, right from the heyday of Blue Loot to the current level at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we already talked about transaction tax basically halving. That's going to be interesting to see whether it stays there or not. I think it's going to be also dependent on, you know, either they introduce another sync or they take this away again. Has this impacted, you know, because like I do market trading and I talk about market trading. So having the transaction tax, it impacts me a lot because if I want to liquidate large amounts of inventory, then right now I dump it into the market, right? Does this impact the way that you guys act as an alliance, the sales tax, or
No,
is it?
it's just a nice savings. That's all.
Yeah, and for most null people that drop loot to buy orders anyway, it doesn't. You don't care about 2%.
Oh no, 2% is a lot because buybacks run on margins, right?
Yeah.
So buybacks that used to run on 95% margins would actually see a fairly significant increase in their margins from that because people don't adjust to things like that. Like,
I was gonna
hey,
say, yeah, this adds 2% to your margins as an alliance, not to the line members, right? Like you basically
oh,
this is a additional income.
it's additional income to the buyback runners, not necessarily the alliance.
Yeah. Okay. Um, because they get to keep their profits. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Very good. But yeah, so we'll see how that works. Money supply, you know, it dropped a lot last month because of the big activist delta. Now it climbed up again a little bit, but
Because of
you know,
the
yeah,
faucet imbalance.
and it's going to keep on rising if it, you know, if it goes like this. That's just the way it is. And I know we talk a lot. You and I discussed this graph a lot in the last month. If you look at the one in pink, which is the ISK velocity without contracts and Plex, then it's actually still going down. So if we are seeing a higher velocity, it's mostly Plex, because there are a lot of Plex. There's the Plex price is still rising. There are a lot of Plex being bought, and there's a lot of Plex being used in the New Eden store and for Omega time overall. So overall, lots of Plex moving, but not the rest of the market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the MPI, the mineral price index, we're not going to see this come down until isogen is quote unquote fixed, as I would call it fixed, because it's just way too expensive. You know, I think once that gets fixed, we're going to see that come down very quickly. But you know, who knows who knows what's going to happen. Yeah, it doesn't really translate that much into ship prices. Those haven't been rising all that much. But you know, this is obviously a huge issue for capital prices, and that's where I think we agreed last time as well that that's where the problem is right now. It's not necessarily in subcap pricing.
Yep. Well, except
And
battleships.
some of
Battleships
them,
are half isogen.
yeah. No, they are half isogen, but they're also, you know, if you look at Marauders, for example, they are
Those are coming down because recently Moongoo's been crashing,
yeah.
and you can see that from T2 ship prices as well. I would reckon they're down about 15% over the last 6 months. I think mostly due to Metnox.
Yeah, we have so Moongoo is trading around 15% below yearly average. So that's the 15% you just mentioned. Just this week, it's down 3.5% overall. So there are some of them that are down 10-20% just this week, and that's got to be Metanox, right? I mean, it has to be.
I
It's
would
either
say
people
so, yeah.
speculating. It's either people speculating on the Metanox impact, or it's the direct Metanox impact. One of the two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone wants to hold on to Moongoo right now. at least not in a large scale. I never really understood why they added this graph. I think they want, like, I think the reasoning estimate added it to this, or I think it was this decision. But I think the reason this was added is to show that the mineral price index doesn't have a huge impact on ship prices overall. I think it's like a copium graph, you know, because they want to say, hey, yes, I know the mineral prices look terrible, super expensive, but look, ships are trading, you know, basically at the same as they were before scarcity, because they didn't pick 2018 here as like by chance, right? This is pre and post scarcity, so they're saying the ships are same price. Capitals aren't, but ships overall.
Yeah, I'm not sure which items are actually in this thing. So, we'll
on this
I guess we
on
can.
this one.
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm not sure what actually composes that index.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't say when they added it. I think they just added it. Not sure. Yeah, and then we already talked wormholes. Anything else you wanted to say about wormholes?
Nope, I think I'm all set.
And then you had, I think you had, didn't you have one more graph here? Hold on. You have one more on ship losses here. Let's show you last graph on ship losses.
It was about Pochven and how specific ships are driving some change. Specific ships might be driving specific numbers in Pochven, which is the takeover of Marauders. And there used to be some fleet diversity in Pochven, but people quickly realized Marauders is better at everything. And it's not just Bargers as it was at the start. Is a lot of Marauders are being used in Pochven.
This is
All the Marauders being used in Pochven except Golems, because missiles, I guess.
this is a lot of Marauders dying though. Angry.
Yeah, it's a lot of Marauders dying, but it's not a lot compared to how much is Pochven trending.
No, that's right. Okay. Anything else we didn't cover, Angry?
I think that's pretty much everything I have.
Cool. Then thanks so much, as always, for joining me here on stream, and I'll see you next month. Yeah, anytime. So we're gonna return to some other stories, but Angry, I will let you enjoy your weekend. Have a good time.